welcome to the last best of 5 series of this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're on Frost, spawning to the bottom left-hand corner in purple. Playing Protoss for LDLC in France, it's Miyako. And to the top left in red, playing Protoss for O Gaming in France, it's Midastouch, who I will refer to as Midas at some point in the game, probably because the name is just awfully long. But we'll see what is going to happen. So, PvP, ladies and gentlemen, and Miyako's first season of the FSL as Protoss player. Terran used to be her main race. Let's see how experienced she is in the PvP matchup, opening with a double gateway. So probably wants to go into some heavy adept pressure early on, maybe later on Stalkers. We'll see what's going to happen this time around. Miyako already scouting her opponent, already getting the scouting advantage by a little bit. Seems as if her opponent has actually not realized where the probe was coming from, so Miyako just might have snuck in a little bit in order to get some information out. But of course that's really important for her if she wants to ramp up the aggression, to know where her opponent has spawned. So that's already kind of a lucky scout there for her. So Mida's still searching. Should actually get kind of an idea, but of course if she saw the probe... Oh, actually, that is actually quite interesting. There's again another probe moving out. What the hell is going on? So Midas now has 2 probes on the way. And again, just checking. No, that's actually quite odd. Okay, seems as if this was just kind of a misclick by Midas there. Don't really know what was going on there. That was really strange. So, Miyako even blocking the natural base, while she herself just waits for a cybernetics core to arrive. So obviously the double gates are supposed to produce stalkers. No, actually, no, never mind. Of course, adepts. What was I talking about? Of course, you can't produce adepts without the cybernetics core. Stupid me! Stupid me! Of course, they were there for double adepts. So, like I said, nothing all too unusual. In the meantime, we have Midas actually hiding a pylon far away from her main base at the other half of the map that is probably not even getting scouted at all throughout the rest of the game. Maybe a little bit later on, if the game really reaches late game and the players want to check for hidden ninja expos, then they might actually check once more for that half of the map here that's being divided by that chasm there. So let's see. Okay, what's it going to be? I mean, usually you just want to either hide stargates for proxy stargate units, mostly oracles, maybe even for some sort of void roll in. But on that part, I would rather go with the Twilight Council and the Dark Shrine. So we see what's going on. I mean, if you really want to hide a stargate anyways, you usually just want to hide it in close proximity to your opponent. So adepts are out. Actually, Miyako wanted to harass her opponent a little bit, but Midas also having 2 adepts out and the mothership core, so there's not really that much chance, or so many chances to deal that much damage. But of course Miyako just checking for the 3rd base, sees that it's not there, neither there nor here, so she still knows that her opponent is on 1 base, so something kinda must be up, right? Now just shading in will not let... Oh, actually lets them finish, which is quite interesting. I would not have guessed that. So actually I don't really know if Miyako actually wanted to do that, or if she just forgot about those, or just canceled them a little bit too late, or if she just wanted to get some more information out, hoping that maybe some vital tech some vital tech was being hidden back here somewhere, but I don't know. Okay, there's a Stargate. It's not really being proxied. I'd actually say it's even further away from the base here, but it's hidden, so it might actually just deal the trick. But Miyako just checking for everything. I mean, she knows that it's really, really odd for the opponent not to having any other structures, and there she scouts it. Okay, wow. I mean, how probable was that she would really find that Stargate over here, but she managed to do it. So now she actually knows what's going on, might even be able to just barely, well, not if Midastouch really chrono boost that, but might actually be able to just kill this pylon before the Oracle pops. Oh, there's the chrono boost. Midas really wants to get that Oracle out before the pylon dies. Should actually be able... Ooh, maybe just barely not. We'll see how it's going to be. A few more seconds, and there it goes. So let's see how good an Oracle can actually fight an Adept and how much damage they deal. So first Adept actually dies. Is there enough energy left for the second one as well? It is, but the pylon dies and the Stargate is unpowered for now, and of course the sinister plans of Midastouch have already been revealed. So Miyako now has everything in place. There's a pylon in every mineral line, photon overcharge, and a few stalkers are ready. So there's actually nothing that this Oracle should be able to do. And even replacing that pylon, don't really know if it's worth at that point in time, since Miyako is now well prepared against any kind of air attack. In the meantime, she herself sends an observer, not an overseer, sends an observer towards her opponent's main base, checking for possible other attacks, sees that her opponent has already taken her natural base as well, has just saturated it. So let's have a look at the income. It's almost even. Miyako didn't really get the income advantage, despite having the base up way earlier than her opponent here, so was not really playing her economic advantage there. It's just desperately trying to defend her bases as well as possible. So now the Oracle might actually have a chance to get in and get some probe kills here, because the units have just unfortunately moved out from Miyako. A little bit of an misfortunate anti-timing here, but she drives it away after killing 3 workers. Mothership core now in place, should be able to photon overcharge anytime soon. So maybe even the Stalkers now get the Oracle as well, getting sweet revenge on that Oracle here. Nicely done. Mia's just having proxy pylons everywhere, so just probably wants to make sure that her opponent is not taking a Ninja Expo somewhere over here. That's something, I mean, I always love it when players just put their pylons out on the map for better vision everywhere, all over the map, so that's always a good move, but still it's sort of a very odd placement there. I would have really guessed that you would put a few of these pylons somewhere else at that point in time. I mean, later on, sure. For right now, this is a little bit odd, but it doesn't really matter. Better it's out there somewhere than it's just standing somewhere inside your base. Of course, you don't really want to autosis pylon your own buildings too much, so you just have to have a healthy mix of out and away pylons and in-base pylons, otherwise it might just come back to haunt you. So Miyako obviously preparing for a big push with Blink and Warp Prism reinforcement possibilities. Midas has invested into Immortals there, so the tech advantage could kind of go into her favor. It really depends on what Miyako can actually really deal, if she will be able to snipe down that Immortal early enough. But of course, if she really wants to snipe it down, her Stalkers would just have to blink in and then would be just under the fire of all the rest of the units for quite some time while she is trying to tear down the Immortals, so she would probably lose more in the process. Doesn't really want to do that. Still keeps her opponent occupied mentally, and don't really know if she really wanted to do that. I think that was just a misclick on the Warp Prism there. So just keeps her a little bit inside the base, keeps her a little bit frightened though. So Midas again just wanting to try out once obviously to repower that Stargate over here with the help of that probe. So Miyako not really bothering to tear out. Okay, and there's the blink in. That's actually a nice move there by her. So now she's actually inside the base. If she has some, and she does have some sentries in here, she can actually just force field off that ramp, and now the units are all outside the main base. Miyako can now finally wreak havoc inside the main base with enough force field energy in order to keep these units out forever. No blink here available, nothing whatsoever. Yeah, Miyako now can just rip apart every tech building, every unit, maybe even the Nexus inside the main base, but I think the tech buildings should be actually her favorite rebel goal here. Okay, just has to be careful. Maybe actually just would want to have these in different control groups so that the sentries could just stay here while the rest of the army units just deal enough damage. Okay, Robo goes down, immediately builds one more. Okay, finally, just needs 2 force fields here. Was a little bit too hectic. So the force field energy just gets lower and lower. I think she might have one more force field in her. Actually morphs in a few more sentries in order to get a few more force fields done. Finally, some units get through the force field blockage, and we also have a few more Stalkers being warped in, more Stalkers being warped in by Miyako as well. So let's see how much damage more she can deal. Has to be careful not to get too close to these Stalkers and Immortals down at the natural ramp. But yeah, still, I mean, just keeping her opponent out, killing off more and more important tech structures. She still can always evacuate with the help of the Blink Stalkers, losing that ledge over here. In the meantime, Midastouch just doesn't want to give up. up? Of course not. I mean, there's of course some terrible damage, but eventually she might be able to get in and clear that, and she wants to have a backup plan for when that happens. So finally a few Stalkers and an Immortal make it inside the main base, and it might actually be enough in order to kill off the rest of the Stalkers, Immortals especially with a barrier, and now even Blink has finally been done for Midas, so she can finally blink into her own main base, not after losing a lot of units, but still Miyako is down by a lot. She has 51 workers to 50. She has managed to take her third base in the process, and now can just back up a little bit, but the supply count is actually so much bigger for Midastouch, and it's mostly an army. So let's see if Miyako will actually be able to hold off the incoming counter push that Midas is throwing at her, or maybe not, which would just maybe be the saving grace. So let's see, what is actually going to happen. Miyako transitioning into Disruptors, so doing the Neep play here, just going for a lot of Stalkers and then Disruptors. Actually, the damage dealt by Miyako was not really that high, I feel. Let's have a look. I mean, not that many workers were killed. Yes, some important tech structures were killed, but they got replaced instantly. So, I mean, Miyako dealt some damage, but it still doesn't really seem to be that significant in the long run. So we'll see how everything is going to work out for her. Dark Shrine now in the making for Midastouch. I mean, that's something you want to get in a PvP eventually at some point in time. No reason to not get a Dark Shrine sometimes. Sometime around, but let's see. I mean, the next big engagement will probably just decide the match, especially with the Disruptors here. If Miyako manages to get her the money Disruptor shots, killing off a big chunk of Midastouch's army, then she should just break through everything. But of course, if Midastouch's micro is on point and she just escapes all of the Disruptor balls, the Purification Novae, then yeah, the fight will just be lost in an instant as well, because she has the highest Stalker count. She also has some Immortals which just tear through Stalkers, no problem there. At least we have some Zealots that might be able to tuck back the army units of Midas for a little bit. Miyako trying to take a fourth base, expanding towards her opponent, very daring, especially since most of her army is just sitting somewhere else, and now this base is definitely going to fall. No way for Miyako to hold it. So Midas breaking through. Now the big engagement seems to be at hand. Let's see how the Disruptors work. Okay, Midas actually already retreating, knows that she's already dealt a big amount of damage by tearing down that base and delaying it once more. The only thing that's really missing is the fourth base of her own. So Forge getting thrown down. Miyako wants to get some more upgrades. Don't really know if upgrades are the big part here. Midas is already in the lead with the 2-0 upgrades for melee units. I mean, if you want to deal damage with Disruptors mostly anyways, usually the damage you deal with the Stalkers doesn't matter as much, because the Purification Novas don't get more damage by the upgrades. So upgrades not that important in a Disruptor ball war. But still something, of course, you want to have eventually. It makes it a little bit easier for Stalkers to snipe down units if they deal more damage. Okay, even a Colossus in the mix right now, so Midas really mixing it up inside her army units, even getting a few more Colossi as well. And now we'll see how the Disruptor shots are going to work out. Well, not really hitting anything. Nice blink micro there by Midastouch. So didn't really take any damage, it seems. Maybe a little bit of hull damage. This Stalker was bruised pretty badly, but I don't really know if it was the Purification Nova or just some hits by a few of these units. Miyako also now having some Immortals in the mix. So once a good engagement happens, but of course, yeah, there's the DT killing 20 workers in the process. So while the big attack was happening, unfortunately no cannon down here, and thus the DT reigns supreme, killed off actually everything, and another DT also in the natural base. Luckily for her, no one in the main base, but losing 23 probes at that point in the game is of course also a very problematic thing. Finally manages to kill it off, but of course the damage has already been dealt. We are now at 35 to 64 workers, way better income for Midastouch at the moment, and she also gets a scarier and scarier army every second that goes by. The Oracle still reigning strong, also getting a few more kills here at the 4th base location, and now even a Void Ray being produced as well. Void Rays should actually also help out against mostly Stalkers and also the Disruptors, so there's a healthy amount of 5 Disruptors in the mix. Still, I mean, Miyako's army still has the potential to bring everything back. Good disruptor hits can just turn the tide of a battle in an instant. So you're never to underestimate them, because that's usually how you die. But it's looking pretty good for Midas at that point in time. Sending out a few more DTs for harassment, maybe even checking for other bases. No? Okay, which is actually something I think both players should be doing right now. I mean, okay, Midas just expanded into Miyako's face. Miyako still has that base over here. Both players, actually, well, Midas knows about the base. Miyako doesn't so far. Is probably expecting it. So, more DTs running in. Actually, 3 DTs can take out that cannon, no problem. And can even take out the pylon. Well, quick reaction there by Miyako, pulling away all of these probes. But this base should be forfeit right now. I mean, if Midas really commits, maybe she will be able to save it just barely. But the DTs just deal a hell of a lot of damage there. They are also on level 3 upgrades, so they deal 65 damage per hit. We also have the other DT that just ran away, dealing more damage at the 4th base. More probes again have been killed. 47 to 64. I mean, Midas has just been up in economy for so long, now even transitioning into a fleet beacon. And that is actually the kind of game we know out of Midas. Sitting back a lot, getting her mass Protoss ball, and just defending until she maxes, until she has set everything up, and then she usually forces the main engagement out of her opponent, ripping through them in most cases. So let's see if this is just going to be the power of Protoss once more. Miyako, in the meantime, still obviously hoping for the Archons to just buffer a lot of damage, while the Disruptors might be able to deal the critical damage from behind with a Purification Novae. So let's see if everything is working out according to her plan or not. This will still be a very interesting engagement, don't get me wrong. It's not over by any means. Of course, Midastouch should be able to replace more units, but she doesn't. And well, she has a lot of gateways around already. She also has a lot of other production facilities. Actually, there's a Stargate not producing, but that's only because she's already maxed. So more DT and Zealot harassment. No, only DT harassment. Not getting that Nexus down here. Trying to send in another one, but now there are enough units and cannons around in order to deflect this. So the Oracle just dealing a little bit damage to these search party of Zealots here, getting to scout the actually expected Nexus over here. I mean, this is just the usual location where also Miyako now wants to expand to as well. So, both ladies mostly sitting on their asses. Midas is now maxed. She also gets some more upgrades. Probably just doesn't want to attack. I mean, it's still mostly the old rule in PvP. Who attacks loses. Not, of course, if you just have impeccable micro that's just way better than that of your opponent, then you might be able to pull something off. But in the meantime, again, Midas just sending out 3 more DTs, once more, killing both cannons, and will probably now finally be able to take down that 3rd Nexus, which might actually trigger Miyako to go for an all-out assault. I mean, she has this base in the making, but she's just lost her remaining mining base. I mean, this base is almost dry. This base is already completely dry. This base is not even up. So Miyako's actually down to 0 bases. Well, mostly. I mean, this is the only thing that's actually getting resources. I don't know how she manages to still have that much. Long distance mining mostly, I think. But, oh no, actually this one is also there. Never mind. I actually forgot that one. So that's also very important. But yeah, that was still an important base to lose. So attacking a ninja expansion. I mean, I'm just thinking about what I was saying at the beginning of the game, where I said, well, usually you don't see that many units and structures on that half of the map in that game, unless you go into very late game. And that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. So actually all of my predictions have come true so far, one way or the other. So, Miyako just seeing that the pylon is down here, kills the pylon of Midastouch, but of course Midas now knows that she needs to send more DTs down towards that expansion. And defending that should be almost impossible once more. The army is totally out of reach. She just goes for the pylons immediately, so she will not even be able to reinforce something, but it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no detection here whatsoever. Losing these stalkers for free will now lose this nexus, and it won't even gain its investment. So, very unfortunate there. Midas even having the Oracle over here, again, just zapping the Zealots here, but it's just out of energy. So, Miyako will be able to get that pylon over here. Little damage, little by little. And while she's retreating, I don't really know where, Midas just takes the chance, takes down the other important base of Miyako that was also still mining, and retreats once more, not wanting to attack the main force of Miyako, just playing the war of attrition here, while Miyako also sending some units. Zealots, unfortunately, not as good as Dark Templars, but Dark Templars wouldn't have even helped against that amount of cannons here, but finally might be able to get down that pesky Stargate over here at least. So, at least one small victory, right? So, rest of the army just hang around here. Both players just playing the waiting game and trying to get more ahead. I mean, Midas is maxed out. She almost has all of the important upgrades. There's not much more space to get more ahead. Okay, waiting for a carrier or two, waiting for air weapons 3, waiting for some more ground armor. Yeah, there is some possibility to get a little bit further ahead, but not really that much. Miyako just throwing away a few minerals, trying to deal throwing away some more minerals and trying to deal some more damage here and there if she can. So Midas's DTs have done great work in the meantime, so not really much to say about that. She's finally managed to get up her ninja expansion, is just producing a few more workers out of here, but actually she can't really produce that many workers anyways. So maybe transferring a few probes will just tell Miyako where the hidden base might be. So it seems as if Midas actually doesn't really want to risk that. So she just likes to transfer her probes rather to that base than down towards that one. Still always nice to have one base in the back if you just might need it later on. So, okay, slowly transitioning into Air Toss, or Sky Toss as it's also sometimes called, the ultimate Golden Armada fleet, while Miyako just running around on the map trying to defend her bases there. So, Tempests flying around, still a lot of Colossi. I just remember good old Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm days, where it was always just building mass Colossi, and whoever had more Colossi just won most of the time, unless one opponent just missed the timing window and the other opponent had already transitioned into Sky Toss, and then usually the Sky Toss won. So, but I also remember the long drawn-out games between Hazuops and Zocke that sometimes could take around an hour because just both players refused to attack because they knew the one who attacked into the other would usually lose the game. So they did the same thing that these two ladies are doing right now, just trying to get an edge, trying to get the upper hand, trying to starve the opponent out by harassing, or by just transitioning and waiting and getting into the better army. So Miyako seems has had enough, wants to get the Mothership Core out. That might provide her actually that little extra edge she needs. I mean, being able to cloak almost all of the units. Is there actually an observer in the army of Midas? Midas doesn't have... she has 3 observers around. No, there's also some with the army. So actually the Mothership Core might not really help. Maybe some of these spells of the Mothership Core might help out, but we're going to see if it's going to happen or not. Again, Miyako doesn't really want to engage that army at that position, has to retreat and is going to lose that Nexus once more. In the meantime, we have a small little attack of Zealots down here, but I think the cannons should be able to clear that. Although, mind, it's 3-3 Zealots over here. So, the army finally killed it. What does Midastouch do? Does she engage? Does she retreat? Does she engage? Well, she tries to deal some more damage, not trying to engage directly. Miyako just cleared off everything. Mothership Core is still hanging around. Finally, the cloak gets into effect, but like I said before, there are observers. So let's see how everything is going to work out. Okay, maybe now she just engages with the help of the probes as well. So it seems as if this is the last final stand. A lot of units actually kind of out of position for Midas there. So let's see if Disruption Novas are getting fired. Yeah, they actually find their goal. Tearing down these Colossus very soon here. And the rest of the army actually has to run away. Miyako just tearing through Midastouch's army. Midas just sitting on a lot of resources, trying to warp in and reproduce as many units as she can, but of course, even if you have a lot of Stargates, it takes quite some time in order to get the carriers done. So let's see if the rest of the units can actually hold off Miyako's push. Miyako really wants to pull through now. She still has Disruptors in the mix. Tearing through all of the ground forces is now obviously going to kill that base over here. Mothership Core is still alive. We still have... Do we actually have an observer here? Does she actually see the rest of the army? Well, now she finally does after the Mothership went down. No, they were actually some observers in place, so no problem there. And Miyako just has to retreat for now, not without evening up the supplies. So very, very successful attack there by Miyako. But of course, she now knows that she just is going to face the mass amount of carrier here. In just a few seconds. So what does she do from now? I mean, it's really a difficult decision. She has very strong forces on the ground. Nothing that Midas has on the ground can actually stand to that force, but she doesn't really have that many units that can attack air, and those who can are either slow and clunky or just not dealing that much damage. So let's see. And all of the other units like the Immortals or the Disruptors are mostly worthless. I think like splitting up maybe would be a good idea, just trying to arrest more and more of these bases to the top right hand corner, and then again just moving in with some Stalkers at some other place. So that might be a good idea, because she cannot really fight that army straight up. I mean, she just will lose so many units and resources to those carriers and the interceptors, but she doesn't really have anything against it. I mean, the only thing she can actually do is produce maybe some air units herself, maybe getting some Tempests as well, trying to focus fire these carriers down, but not really that much she can do. And now she's finally sitting right underneath all of these interceptors here. The interceptors just killing off everything on the ground. Not much anti-air remains, and it seems as if Miyako is just going to lose all of her army to the relentless carrier interceptor fire. And there the rest of the important army units go down. Only Midastouch's army survives, 105 to 14 there. And what looked to have been kind of a tight game for a moment there just ended up to be, well, I think a significant loss from here on out, because like I said before, there's not really much that Miyako can do from now on. I mean, she just doesn't have the means in order to take down these carriers. And once Midastouch just decides to keep finally going, everything that Miyako has just should die from here on out. So now finally going into 2 Stargates, finally having the time to do so, and the resources as well, also getting into Fleet Beacon, but that's just a desperate move. I think Miyako already knows that she has probably lost, but of course she doesn't want to give up yet. Her army is, or her bases are spread out pretty far. Carriers still don't fly that quickly, but Midastouch just knows that the most vital bases will be down here. Okay, some harassment over here, but Midas has some Dark Templars in position. Actually doesn't really care about all of these probes. She can really easily let them die. Kills off the last, or the really important base, and GG, Midas takes the first game. Back on King Sejong Station, spawning to the top left-hand corner in purple. Playing Protoss for LELC, it's Miyako. And to the bottom right in red, playing Protoss for O Gaming, it's Midastouch, who just managed to win a drawn-out macro game against her opponent, thus leading 1-0. So let's see what Miyako has up her sleeves this time around. No matter whether Miyako's playing Terran, her main race, or Protoss, she's always been kind of an unpredictable player. So we'll see what's going to happen this time around. Gateway already starting, so both players just opening with the good old safe standard builds, with the only exception that Midastouch is producing her gateway tucked back behind the mineral line, while Miyako just prefers to seal off the ramp, maybe to make it a little bit more difficult for mass adepts to walk through or to shade in. So that's actually usually the only reason why you would actually wall off at all, to make it a bit more difficult for adepts to walk in. Adepts actually changed that build. In good old times, it was not very popular to wall off the main ramp when you were playing in a PvP, because usually Protoss units could just snipe down. With the help of the Mothership Core, you would provide some vision, and then you could just snipe down buildings right at the entrance. But with the adept shading, it became sometimes very important that your opponent just couldn't produce mass adepts and then just shade through the unit that was blocking the entrance. So you would just do the normal wall, and if you saw that your opponent was trying to go for a big adept attack, you could just completely wall in, thus keeping the adepts from getting inside your main base. So that's still the remainders of this. In the meantime, we have another proxy location there for Midas, but actually Miyako, we already saw the clicking, was clicking close towards that position, so we'll probably spot that pylon in just a few seconds, which will tremendously help her to figure out what her opponent is actually up to. This should again be a Stargate pylon here, I feel, but it's not going to happen, it seems. Miyako again just scouting, just barely sees the pylon there and now knows what's up, and it seems as if Midas is already abandoning her plan. So, which is always a big throwback already, because I mean, you had a game plan, you wanted to transition into something, like I said, probably a Stargate, but now you can't really do it as early on and as smooth as you wanted to do it. Midas still being really relentless and really stubborn, still wants to have that proxy pylon somewhere, but Miyako also being terrific with her scouting, scouts the second pylon as well. Probably just wanted to take that watchtower over here and just happened to scout it, but still very nicely done by her. So again, I don't know if Midas has actually realized what was going on, that Miyako actually scouted the pylon there, so she's probably just going to send and yeah, she actually knows it. So she will probably just send these two adepts over to that pylon as well, trying to kill it, and will then see the Stargate. So actually everything that Midastouch was trying to do has already been discovered and thus also denied. So let's see, Miyako even sending a few stalkers over here after realizing what was going on. Midas just cancelled the Stargate over here, will now just check the natural base in order to get some good scouting off, but of course her own natural base will be so much later, and she just has some units tucked back here in order to defend her mineral line as best as she can. Has finally gotten the gateways up, but of course, like I said before, her plans just have been denied. So that's always something that sucks quite a lot. If you had a strong game plan and everything else depended on this early attack somehow happening and somehow dealing some damage, and then you just got sniffed out so early that there's nothing you can actually do. That's always a very frustrating start for a player. So, let's see, Warp Prism already in production for Miyako here, and the gateway is already morphing. So let's see what she can actually do. Seems as if, again, she just wants to go in with sentries, maybe, and keep her opponent out of her own base. We'll see if it's going to work or not. In the meantime, Midas, damn, she's stubborn. Just trying the other side of the map. Again, planting down that pylon. She really wants to have that Stargate, doesn't she? I mean, this is just such a stubborn move, but maybe it's going to pay off. We'll see. I mean, this might actually be a good thing, since after sniffing out your opponent twice, you might not expect her to just try and do it again. But again, Miyako just having the sixth sense here, it seems. I mean, no, oh yeah, there it is. It's the scouting pass. She's just scouting everywhere and will eventually again sniff out that Stargate. My god, I mean, yeah, Yeah, now she knows. She just saw that the Adept was attacking the probe over here. She knows the probe must have been there for some reason. And Midastouch once more has to cancel that Stargate over here. She just won't get it up. Whatever they're supposed to be. Okay, just, doesn't want to risk anything. Miyako just transferring her Stalkers over here. Trying to tear them apart. Of course, now giving away that she has a Warp Prism in place. Which might actually trigger Midas into getting some countermeasures done here. So let's see how this is going to work out for her later on. Blink for both players, Immortals for both players. So it seems as if they just want to get kind of the same composition out this time around. And let's see who gets the upper hand once the first engagement actually happens. So, scouting pylons over for Midas. Yeah, these are just scouting pylons, not real proxy pylons anymore. So, seems she's given up on that plan. And not much to talk about at that point in game. Both just, again, sitting back. Miyako finally taking the third base first, which might just give her a small edge. She again should have been actually on the economic lead for quite some time, but Midas allowed Midas again to catch up by a little bit. A little bit sloppy there by Miyako. I mean, she has had that base for a lot longer than her opponent. I mean, we saw that it was more than halfway done before her opponent actually even started to get one. Midas had to sacrifice a lot of resources for all of these proxy Stargates she always wanted to build but couldn't really get up. She didn't really deal any damage. So Miyako actually should be ahead in workers and economy, but she isn't. And she's also not really ahead in army supply as well, so not really that much that she did there. Will now be able to deny the third base over here, which is also, of course, a nice move. Maybe not. Maybe just barely missing the opportunity here, because she just thought there was one, but it wasn't, and now it just gets set down. Okay, a little bit of an anti-timing here. Very unfortunate for Miyako, who was just trying to get it. Could have gotten an edge. Oh, and this might be a very problematic move here, especially with the force field there. Midastouch just unfortunately walking out right at the wrong time. Miyako being able to keep these Immortals out of the equation for most of the time, taking out almost all of Midas's forces down, just warps in a few more reinforcements, and now her army is suddenly her army is just way bigger than that of Midas. Still has to be careful, of course, not to get lured into maybe photon overcharge over here. Still, again, using the force fields to her advantage, trying to get that Immortal just caught out in the open, but doesn't really manage to get it, unfortunately for her. Finally, Mothership Core is back, more units getting warped in. Now she realizes that in the meantime, Midas has tried to take a third base, will eventually be able to take it out if Midas's army doesn't get in. But of course, getting in is very, very difficult. Nice little blink out there just after these force fields have been thrown down, so not getting caught there off guard. And now a nice little angle there by Midastouch. Can't really save her base over here, unfortunately, but it seems as if Miyako has to retreat for now. Dealt quite some big amount of damage, but will not be able to deal that much damage anymore. Has to be careful though, doesn't really want to lose these sentries over here, doesn't want to lose more important units anyways. That was actually a difficult or really problematic blink here, just dangerous for her to do that. I mean, like again, these force fields could have just cut off everything and then just kill them, but for now Midastouch is actually doing a great job of trying to blink afterwards these units, picking them off as they retreat, and she's already equaled the supply count by now. Only problem is that she doesn't have a third base up at all, has to plant it down for now, while Miyako's base is already up, and Midas now finally has to retreat because she can't really get in, or she can't really get after these units because she always runs the risk of running into a trap that is set up with more units back at home. She doesn't really have anything to reinforce her push, so she doesn't really want to risk that. Retreats to some sort of odd corner of the map, while now Miyako actually can just rebuild her army and also try to saturate her third base over here. Midas knows about it. With the help of that observer, it still doesn't matter because she still hasn't gotten a third of her own. So actually, under normal circumstances, I'd give the advantage to Miyako right now because Midas just grants her the time to get her economy up, while she herself just has to play the catch-up game. But in order to do that, she really needs to deal some damage as well. On her own, she shouldn't be able to catch up. Miyako shouldn't let her. because she will just be way ahead in economy very soon now. We can just see that in the income tab, not quite now, but just in a few seconds, we will see how Miyako's income should rise by quite a significant margin. So here we go. And this will allow her to just get more units, better tech, better upgrades and everything else. Midas just flying in with the Oracle will not be able to deal that much damage, maybe getting one kill, but then the cannon will just drive her away. Tries to fly around, maybe get some kills at the edge of the photon cannon. At the edge of the photon cannon reach there, so let's see if she will be able to do that or not. Maybe even losing the Oracle, has to be careful there. In the meantime, army movement by Miyako, but not too far out, just positions her army somewhere out at the... Ooh, even moving back all of her army there just for the Oracle? You serious? That's a bit unusual for Miyako to do that. So, going into charge and going into disruptors. So again, it's going to be the Neep play, a lot of stalkers and disruptors, also some immortals in the back to deal some heavy damage as well. And if she hits early enough this time around, I think this should work out quite well for her, but of course she has to land these purification novae, even taking a 4th base, so it doesn't... So again, seems as if we have to wait a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, before some big engagement is going to happen. Midas, in the meantime, just trying to get the same army composition we've seen her having before, Void Rays and Colossi in the mix. This time around, more Stargates early on, so we'll see if it will be less Colossi and more Void Rays. And if it's going to help out. I mean, last time Miyako was able to at least beat her army once. Upgrades still heavy in favor of Midas here, already on 3-0, while Miyako is not even working on 2-0. So army overall value should be better for Midas here. She's on 19.6 to 18.9. But the disruptors, again, the game changer, could just change everything. Has she seen the arm? Did she see the... Yeah, she did. So decides not to move in, maybe decides to move in now. Midas' army out of position, and this could actually be kind of, well, she will of course lose that base. Could actually be a terrible engagement if Miyako actually decides to do that. I mean, while retreating, she could just throw out some Purification Nova, actually gets 2 Stalkers there, nice shot there. But decides to retreat for now, of course, because she already has the advantage. She knows that her 4th is up. All she needs to do is, again, play the attrition game, keeping her opponent from expanding. If she really wants to do that, I think she should just send down something in order to scout for the potential 4th bases over here and here as well. You usually just want to know if these bases go down as quickly as possible. So maybe an observer or 2 wouldn't hurt, or maybe just sending out an adept or a zealot in order to get the information. We'll see. With the help of the Zalnagata, she just gets a small vision just a small vision boost that doesn't really help her. So, okay, Midas again trying to take her base. More Colossi in the mix. Archons again being morphed for Miyako. The Dark Shrine incoming. Something that Miyako has unfortunately missing throughout all of the games, and we've seen how potent this DT harassment can be. And like I said before, going into the late game, you eventually want to have a Dark Shrine. I mean, if it's not part of your opening build, then usually you just want to have it later, be it for harassment, be it for the Archon possibility. But yeah, they can just deal so much valuable damage later on in the game, because it's really difficult to protect everything everywhere from every unit from DT harassment. It's just almost impossible to do it. You will just have to have a lot of resources left over in order to throw down all these cannons you'd need. So this might be something of an engagement there, don't really know. Okay, nice blink out. So Disruptor Shot doesn't really hit anything, it seems, although it's quite difficult to see because it's just such a big ball of army. So it seems as if Miyako is taking the alternative route. And again, just splitting up most of these forces. Midastouch has to be careful. I mean, these Void Rays could get sniped before they can actually deal the amount of damage. And now it seems as if Miyako feels comfortable to actually engage that army here, seeing that she has just a lot of damage dealers in front, while Mida's own damage dealers are just wide out in the open there. The Purification Nova should actually also help to keep Midas's army in check. And it seems as if Miyako actually wants to get into the third base as well, maybe even taking it down. Actually, nice move of her, has a lot of disruptors right in the back, can now always shoot the disruptor balls right into Midas's army, taking down a big chunk at once, and that should be it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the game changer I was talking about, losing such a big chunk at once of your army while the rest of your opponent's army just totally is untouched. That's not a good sign at all. One Colossus here of Miyako being out in the open, but Miyako just shreds through all of Midas's army. Nothing left, GG, and Miyako takes the second game and ties it up 1-1. Frozen Temple is the third map of this best of 5. Spawning to the bottom right hand corner in red, playing Protoss, is Midastouch. And to the top left hand side in purple, playing Protoss as well, it's Miyako. So, Frozen Temple. I don't want to seem biased, but I really hope we're not going to see another extended macro game with both players just sitting on their army, hoping for the other one to do an engagement mistake. So let's see how this is going to work out this time around. Doesn't seem as if either of these ladies wants to cheese or wants to do some sort of proxy build thingy. So still, Mida's just checking everything, probably expecting her opponent to get tired of these kind of games. So she really wants to know everything, just spots for possible cannon rush locations before then finally planting down the assimilator over at the right geyser, while having already taken the first one. So Scout should now just actually get the first information. Miyako finally sending out a scout of her own. Has already again started with the double gateway, so probably going to, well, again, we could see stalkers later on, but it's probably going to be the adept, the double adept build, and then maybe she will be able to deal some damage with early adepts, or maybe she just wants to use them for scouting. Probably Midas will already have some defensive measures out as well, so probably not that much that Miyako will be able to do here. So Mida's just sending her probe to a proxy location. So it's probably going to be a pylon and a Stargate, if, of course, Miyako is not able to sniff it out once more. Okay, it seems as if she's abandons her plan, just chooses a different location. So you PvP players out there, if you play Midastouch in your PvP, be aware of Stargate somewhere. It doesn't need to be proxy Stargate, but it's probably coming up somewhere on the map. Interesting pylon placement there by Miyako on the high ground. Can actually be taken out very easily. Might just be there in order to get a photon overcharge done if she wants to have it. So there it is, the Stargate 3 times in a row. A bit predictable, I have to say. Miyako's still scouting like crazy. Wants to know where it is. And again, just crosses the probe here. The question is, did she look at the minimap at that point in time? Did she have the minimap awareness? No, obviously not. I think otherwise she would have known. But she's still going to find it. She's just still going to find it. Scouting like every friggin' position possible. Okay, here's to the people who just say, well, you can't scout the whole map in order to find the proxy location, can you? Well, actually you can. Shut up. This is like crazy. I mean, come on. This is like unreal. But yeah, here you go. Here you go. Don't complain anymore about, well, it's so easy for the Protoss to hide this tech and you can't even see us, there's nothing you can do, you always have to play the guessing game, you know. Well, no, you don't. You can actually find it using a worker. Who would have thunk? Quite interesting there. Okay, so Miyako just returning the probe, returning after having done its work. Proud. There are some stories you have to tell, little probie. So, proxy position goes, or proxy Stargate goes down. And in the meantime, Midas again has to abandon her plan for now. Just goes into the Nexus. And actually it's not that delayed from Miyako's Nexus this time around. So even more units walking across the map. I think, well, Midas might start to be to get a little bit worried. I mean, there's a pylon out here. Do we have photon overcharge available? Yes, we have, and some more units. Okay, never mind. Not a big problem here. Nothing that Midas shouldn't be able to deal with, and Miyako knows it. That by now her opponent should have enough units. So just retreats after the work is done and the Stargate has been destroyed. So, what is Midas's choice from here on out? We have a Twilight Council going up, we have a robotics facility going up, we will probably have some Immortal production, and probably also maybe some legs, we probably blink. And then later on... No, actually the Resonating Glaives. Switching it up a little bit, so let's see if Mass Adepts can actually deal with the force that Miyako is going to build this time around. We'll see if Miyako again wants to transition into Disruptors early on or not. For now it's only Blink, but that's of course always working towards the desired composition of Stalker Disruptor that yeah, a lot of Protoss players like to play right now. It seems to be the typical meta go-to combination you actually want to have because it's just so powerful and strong. If you can do the micro correctly, of course, that often applies to a combination of units that seem to work together very well, but they're usually not very easily managed. So, Midas trying to get some information with the Observer there as well. Miyako just doing a little push out. She has a Warp Prism in place. She has Blink. There's a lot of room where you can actually blink in with Blink Stalkers. So she might actually want to do the same trick once more and keeping her opponent out of the base. Actually, nice little timing here for Miyako. A little bit of an anti-timing for Midastouch. Walking out right into the open where Miyako's army was just heading forward. So maybe Miyako might be able to actually tear down a few units with Blink Micro here, because she has Blink, her opponent doesn't. So actually this should be a fight that Miyako should win if her Micro is on point, because she can always just blink back with the damaged Stalkers there, takes out the Immortal even, and now can just easily retreat from that pylon, blinking into the main base. And well, she doesn't have a sentry around, so she won't be able to get her, but her opponent has already so few Stalkers here. She already has the Stalker advantage. Of course, you normally don't want to blink in to the amount of Stalkers of your opponent, but yeah, she just does it. She has so much more. She can easily just blink in. It's not very close to a pylon, so even with a photon overcharge, Miyako should be able to just retreat by a little bit and should be able to take out these Stalkers because she has the overwhelming Stalker numbers. Now even being able to just warp in Stalkers right inside the main base, just has to get out of the range of that pylon over here. Now just moves in once more, kills off another Stalker, can actually just easily one-shot Midastouch's Stalker, while Midastouch just doesn't have enough in order to do the same. One more photon overcharge is in that mothership core. There might be even another one if it didn't get shot down. But yeah, Miyako can now just move forward, tear down another Stalker or two if she wants, and with the help of the warp-ins, I think this fight should end very soon. Now even taking out a few more gateways for production, so then Midas will even will only be able to even produce less Stalkers than Miyako from that point on. But it's done, ladies and gentlemen. The last remaining forces of Midas die. Miyako has overwhelming Stalker numbers. Her Blink play paid off that time. GG. And Miyako takes the lead 2-1. Galactic Process is the fourth map of this best of 5. Spawning to the top right hand corner in red, playing Protoss. It's Midastouch. And to the bottom left in purple, playing Protoss as well, it's Miyako, who just took the lead 2-1 with Blink Stalker play, and now only has to win one more to close out the series, while her opponent is under the pressure of winning 2 games in a row. Always a difficult thing to do. So let's see if Midas is up to the task or not. Typical initial builds for both people. So Miyako just again opening double gateway. Just a go-to build. Midas just one gateway and then the double gas. Nothing all too uncommon. Let's see if either player is going to switch it up a little bit or not. I mean, Miyako just tried something else with the early blink aggression. Midas just going into the same build 3 times in a row. Let's see if it's going to help her out a 4th time again. No probe. Well, there's also already 1 probe out. So we'll see if Midas is going to hide it somewhere, trying to take another proxy gateway. I mean, the typical position for that would be somewhere around here, because it's a very long route for a scout to scout it over here, but it's a very short route for the Oracle to get in. Since it's the most likely position, or that one, which is actually pretty damn obvious, and also yeah, this is pretty obvious. So usually, if you really take that, it's really disrespectful almost. So yeah, there she goes, just taking one of the typical proxy locations once more. Yeah, one is behind those rocks. That's a typical location as well. And I think we've already seen, no, that was actually Midas's cursor, just trying to find it. So Miyako again, just trying to find everything, checking for everything, and there we go. And the typical proxy location over here, the typical proxy location over here, so she already wants to check it, but will of course take some time in order to find this one over here. But of course she still has some time left, because the pylon has not even been planted. So yeah, again, what can I say? PvP players, stay alert, stay on your guard, or just play something against Proxy Stargate right from the get-go. You will probably face it if you play against Midas here. Ooh, uncharacteristic supply block by Miyako here. Not being able to get out that Stalker here. Very unfortunate for her. Well, a little blunder there. That's very unusual by Miyako here. But like we said before, Protoss not her main race. Just challenging herself by playing it this season around, after tearing through everyone in the first season using her main base Terran. So, nice little pylon block there by Midas. In the meantime, we have the Adept shading into the main base, but there's already, well, forces ready to welcome her. So not much she can do. Hasn't found the proxy location over here yet. We'll see whether she's going to find it or not. The probe is still moving around. And finally, Midas takes her own natural base almost at the same time as Miyako, after having to tear down that pylon. So, Miyako still searching. Okay, checking the other proxy location, checking the other one, and will eventually just get it. Will eventually just get it. Actually, should be able to see it with that one. No, the probe will just turn around because the path is blocked, so she's not going to see it. But yeah, she's already just clicked there in order to get there. So be careful. Maybe Midas will be able to actually kill that scout there. So good move there by her. Let's see if Miyako actually is well aware enough in order to send out another scout or not this time around. Has a lot of stalkers there in position anyways. So, seems as if, yeah, Miyako this time around prepares for an air build herself by starting with the Stargate herself, already producing a few Phoenixes. So, very interesting play by her. So, let's see if she just goes into mass Phoenixes trying to lift the shit out of Miyako, out of Midastouch, or not. Or if she just wants to have a few air units out in order to deal with the proxy Stargate play. That actually is not going to happen anymore. So, seems as if Midas has still abandoned this plan. No Stargate going up. Could have. Still. But yeah, seems as if she didn't really want to do it after all. Or maybe later. Or maybe just a proxy position. Or maybe whatever. Maybe just scaring the opponent. Could even be mind games. You never know. So, Midas also, okay, no, just, again, yeah, that's just a typical deal, which I actually like a lot. Spreading out pylons all over the map for vision, for warp-ins, for everything. That's just a sign of a good Protoss player. Not really building all of these pylons clumped up inside your base. Of course, like I said before, you don't actually also want too many too many autosis pylons within your base, so it also does you good to have like one additional pylon close to your important tech buildings. But yeah, having some proxy pylons out on the map just for vision, just for the possibility to warp in, is always a good thing to have later on in the game. So, more phoenixes being pulled together. So once she reaches 4 phoenixes, I think we should see Miyako move out, trying to get some lifts on these probes and killing them off. Let's see if her harassment will actually do her good. Okay, but now Midas has scouted it, sees the phoenixes, so knows what's going on. Let's see how she's going to react. She already has a forge in place, so she might just drop a cannon in every mineral line in order to help her out defending against this phoenix harassment. And there she goes. So both players not really eager to take a third base anytime soon, it seems. No. There it is. I just was wondering about it, and Miyako is already doing that in that point in time. So again, she should gain the economic lead, but is still again behind. So her worker production not really on point with Protoss here. Again, a little bit sloppy, which is a little bit unusual. I'm just pointing it out because usually when playing Terran, Miyako just does not do these kind of subtle, small little mistakes there, uncharacteristic of her. So just wondering that it's happening here at all, and just letting Midastouch taking the advantage from her by doing that a little bit. So Templar Archives almost finished, which will give you the possibility to get some Archons up. I think Midas might have been expecting Mass Phoenix play, so she just wants to have some units up that Miyako can't really lift. But Miyako, I think, will just stay on her 4 phoenixes for now. No, actually has a few more. Might just, like I said, use them to lift in the main engagement. Might just try to harass later on. But for now, the phoenixes are just sitting around. Maybe she was just expecting her opponent to go into some sort of Stargate play once more, and she just wanted to have the countermeasures ready beforehand. But for now, these phoenixes are not really helping her out that much at all. So let's see if they will become more valuable later on in the game. Midas just having very well or having very good map vision, or actually both players, Miyako actually having the better one because she took at least one watchtower over here, but the proxy pylons and also the observer over here will just help Midas to identify a push early enough in order to send her army where it needs to be. So I like that quite a lot by Midas there. Both ladies still almost on the same supply, 59 to 54 workers. The biggest advantage for Miyako being her base a little bit earlier, but with more probes around, Midas should be able to just saturate this base a little bit earlier. So I think it should need the advantage should just negate itself in just a few seconds. Not really much to speak of. Again, better upgrades for Midas. Midas really on point with her upgrades. Finally, Miyako will, by planting down a scouting pylon on her own, just discovers the initial proxy pylon of Midas, takes it down. And then we have the building up phase of the game once more. Both players just sitting back, trying to get the economy going, trying to get more units, trying to get more upgrades, letting us wait for the action. But that's what you have to do sometimes. Waiting for the ladies is what we have to do this time around. Not all the time, but this time around. So, the Dark Shrine. And again, I don't really think we've seen Miyako play any Dark Shrine whatsoever throughout the series so far. Or did she? No. I think she didn't play any Dark Shrine whatsoever. Must be because she actually hates TTs and just refuses to build them. Maybe. But she should. In a PvP, it's very essential to, at one point in the game, actually around the 10-minute mark is pretty typical, to get the Dark Shrine. If you don't want to start with it, of course, that is. So, Midas also taking another expansion, Miyako taking also another expansion. So, Midas just, again, being relentless with all the scouting, with all the pylons all over the map. Still a very nice move. She will always see everything coming. Now taking out Miyako's proxy pylon here. That just tells Miyako that the army well, was kind of coming, but it's not anymore. And that's a brave move there by Miyako now, just trying to take the gold base over here. Let's see if it's going to work out for her or not. If Midas actually scouts that. I mean, she should, right? No, Miyako has that. Oh, okay. Just immediately cancels it after seeing that the probe that was just trying to plant down more proxy pylons here, just by accident discovered this base over here. Miyako had the Xel'Naga Tower occupied, so she would have realized if something was headed her way. Unfortunately, it was. So her plan to get an economical edge by taking the gold base was just denied. Denied! And that was just it. So, well, not much happening here. Not much to hype up, unfortunately. Both players just sitting tucked back. Actually, quite an odd positioning for Miyako's army, I feel, since her 4th base is out there. And now, just as I say it, it seems as if she's also realized that her army is sitting at a kind of an odd position there. Why would you have it right at your natural base? That's, well, pretty down already. Mothership morphing. Warping in, whatever. I mean, it's almost like a morph, right? You just change the mothership core into a mothership. And there it is! So maybe that might trigger Miyako to make something happen now. Using the time warp, maybe, and the additional cloaking field. She also has a Tempest out as well, is now moving forward towards her 4th base, but it seems as if she also just wants to wait a little more. She has the supply lead right now, has more workers, has some upgrades, so the upgrades are kinda even. She also has the better army. So we'll see. I mean, once she's maxed, she might just want to move out. But Midas again going into some carriers and having more Stargates out already. Also having the possibility to harass using the Dark Shrine. More proxy pylons out of her. I mean, let's just have a look at the map vision. That's just so greatly done by her. And this time around, Miyako does not realize that there's an observer in place that actually sees the gold base over here, which will allow Midastouch to actually easily take it down if she wants to. She already moves her army towards that direction, which could actually help Miyako if she just expected it to happen and maybe can intercept the army from a good angle so that most of Midas's units might be clumped up or not firing or whatever, so that she will again maybe be able to take a lot of units before they actually will be able to fire, and that might be the engagement she was looking for, trying to move in. Midastouch on a full-out retreat will probably even lose a few units here and there, maybe because she's just now standing right inside the choke point, is now attacking up that ramp. I think Miyako should really turn around and try to take that fight. I mean, if Midas actually tried to fight that engagement upwards the ramp and a choke point, that could have been disastrous. So in the meantime, Miyako just realizes that her opponent is trying to break through these rocks, retreats with most of the phoenixes, and just tries to take these zealots out with the help of the lift ability. So Midas just retreating, trying to regather her army composition as well. Both are just building up a big bank right now. We'll probably just build a few more production facilities later on in order to remake the army once it gets eradicated. So we just have to wait for the next big engagement. I think that might have been a missed opportunity back there at that ramp. Of course, she shouldn't have chased her down that ramp, that's for sure. But could have maybe taken out that pylon as well, maybe just hoping to chip off a few more units here and there. So, might be another engagement incoming. We don't see it now. Midas has 2 carriers in the mix, but Miyako just getting one that was just too far ahead of the rest of the army. And now we have a big army engagement over there. Archon's actually mostly fighting the interceptors there, not really fighting the bully Archons over there at the right-hand side. And Miyako actually has to move out completely, not being able to take down the forces that had a big upgrade lead there. Actually, DT's harassing the gold base over there for Miyako, and it seems as if this game just kind of goes downhill from here on out. Miyako just losing on all fronts, losing the gold base over here, losing the main army fight. Midastouch still almost maxed out, has a big chunk of her army ready, is now walking right into the 3rd base location. That is still an important and vital structure there for the income, because it's like the yeah, the one of the bases that still has resources left, but it's going to get killed for sure. No chance for Miyako to take it out. DTs at the same time at the 4th base as well. No detection here whatsoever. Yeah, DTs are just going to rip everything apart, and then Miyako will be left on only 2 bases. One of those is the only one mining, the other one is, well, actually dry. I mean, there's still some mineral fields and some French probes there, not working at all. And, well, I can't really see Miyako come back from that. I mean, she's even supply blocked. She's down by 50 army supply. She has less workers. She has almost no mining going on. So Midas's army is already stronger, is already on better upgrades. Miyako just has nothing going for her from that point in time. So I think once Midastouch decides to actually take that engagement, she should just easily waltz through it. Yeah, shouldn't underestimate Archons. There's also a lot of Tempests in the mix. We have the Mothership Core as well. Yada yada yada. I still don't really feel that Miyako should hold out all too long. The next engagement should just seal the deal. But Midas, again, a little bit undecisive, a little bit safer than she actually needs to be. Yes, it's always difficult for a player to know what's going on all over the map. You can't really know what the observer knows, that's right. So, sure, better safe than sorry. But sometimes being too safe might also cost you the game, because you just let your opponent get back into it. And that's also something you don't want to do. I mean, yes, killing off the base is great, but as you can see in the meantime, she actually gave Miyako the time to get up 2 additional bases. Not attacking. So Miyako might now again just get herself back into the game. Of course, Midas was not lazy in the meantime. She kept producing more carriers, kept getting more upgrades, kept making her army stronger. And again, one good engagement. Miyako again in a very problematic situation here. If the army just engaged right now, she would have to attack upwards that ramp through a choke point, which is something you actually never ever want to do. So she also wants to protect her 4th base, but I think a better location for the army would be over here, because from that angle she would be protecting the gold base and the 4th base, unless of course units would be coming from here, but you could just send a unit or a pylon over here in order to get it. So the harassment again just gets Miyako back to her 3rd base, while in the meantime Midas just moves in, tries to kill off the 4th base at the gold, and again, like I said, Miyako just actually cannot really walk up that ramp. It would be suicide against all of these units standing up here, having the better concave, and also having some splash damage available with the Archons, so that would just be suicide getting up. Losing this gold base, of course, is a bit problematic for her again, but yeah, she just tries to get it up once more. In the meantime, Midas also getting more bases up, retreating almost completely again, just waiting to max out once more, getting more upgrades, and then just probably pushing in again. So Midas really likes to play with her food, just wants to starve her opponent, and Miyako even being desperate, trying to take a hidden ninja expo that actually immediately gets countered by the observer over here. But yeah, still standing observers are pretty difficult to see, so she has no idea that her opponent already knows what that sneaky plan that she tries to pull through over here. Okay, Graviton catapult, so Miyako also tries to transition into carriers. Her supply is unfortunately stuck, and it's already pretty full, so she won't be able to get out many carriers anyways. And the upgrades will still be better for Midas here. So I feel that carriers are not really the way to get her back into the game. But of course, as long as your opponent gives you time to do so, you might as well just try to get back into the game, right? So, Midas moving in once more will actually... Ooh, the anti-timing here for Miyako, just attacking right as the Nexus finishes. Maybe even that was Midastouch's plan right from the get-go. And, whoa, I mean... This is just so bad for the morale of your units. You just want to get up the base, and once it's up, it just gets killed immediately. Again, 400 minerals down the drain. And look at that bang, 8k, 3k, Mida's just taking her sweet time crushing Miyako's army and crushing her buildings again and again and again, keeps harassing with Dark Templars over here, even getting the probe while it's trying to sneak by. Another base attempt by Miyako here. She desperately needs bases. I mean, just have a look at the income tab. It's 25 to 63 workers. Actually, Miyako doesn't really need many more workers because she only has one base anyways. So more workers wouldn't help her at all. And again, DT's just in the main base. No detection here. Only that one little cannon. Does it actually provide? Does she actually see these DTs? No. Oh, actually, did she? She did. Seems as if she did. No, not that one. Okay, luring it into the cannon, and now we'll be able to kill it off! Just barely not. Mida's just reacting in time in order to save it, and now just let it kill more important pylons that actually fire up a lot of buildings, but there's one more. So in the meantime, taking position right close to the base. I think she's actually just waiting for the army maybe to move somewhere else so that she can just come in and snipe her opponent. I mean, look at the upgrade bar. Miyako has finally managed to get up her army. She also has 3 carriers. And again, of course, Midas has the same problem. She can't just attack downwards that ramp. That's not a position where she wants to fight in. So still waiting, searching, lurking, always hoping for the one good engagement, hoping for Miyako maybe to pull out into an unfavorable position, keeps sniping the bases and just starving her out little by little. But of course it takes time. It's a safe way to play. Not very entertaining to watch, but who cares about entertainment if you want to win and you know how to do it. Then you just do it. So there might be another engagement incoming here. Mida's trying to come from that angle. It's a broader ramp. There's more wide open space from here to here, so a lot of possibility to engage. And Miyako, of course, just brought her army over here in order to protect that brand new expansion. Has a few, actually only one cannon in place. This could again be get taken down by Dark Templars very easily, but she just needs any ounce of resource she has, and she just can't really invest it into cannons anymore. Throws down a few more pylons here, just dances around with the army units, and Midas again just retreats, doesn't really want to engage, wants to wait for the Mothership Core to arrive. She's almost maxed on upgrades here, just tries to get the last remaining air upgrades. Interesting that she doesn't really want to get probably just forgot about it. She could have easily just taken the plasma shield upgrade as well, and it would be very useful for her, especially with the amount of Archons and air units and everything. If you have a lot of mixed units, the shield upgrades just get so much better, but you probably just forgot about it. Now she's finally producing it. Okay, moving in, killing off a few. What was that, a probe kill just in order to get some more units out? Seems as if she just wanted to free some supply in order to get out a little unit more. Was it a carrier? No, another Tempest, I think. So yeah, she's almost maxed out once more. Waiting, lurking, giving her opponent a little more time, but eventually I think Miyako would really need to just sacrifice a few units of her own in order to get more viable units out. I mean, she still has zealots in her army that just won't do shit against everything. Finally sending some zealots out in order to deal some harassment damage. The main reason is just to get these units killed in order to free up some supply, but if you can deal some damage with them, of course you just want to try. But yeah, the rest of the remaining zealots also now being sent out. Miyako knows she needs higher tech units, needs to open up the supply to do that. And I don't know, like I said, I mean, of course, when you're ahead, get more ahead. It's the old saying, but there's just a point in the game where you can't get more ahead. And if you just sit around then and let your opponent catch up, you might live to regret it. I mean, the army is still pretty strong, don't get me wrong. But Miyako just getting getting to it, little by little. I mean, her upgrades are still lower. She still has... Well, the army supply are actually even. It's mostly the workers that are missing. But like I said before, Miyako only has so many bases, so it doesn't really matter how much income she has. I mean, income actually doesn't matter for Midastouch as well. Midas could actually gladly just sacrifice like 20 of these probes and just live from that bank alone and get a few more units out as well. So this is like super late game in StarCraft. Don't know how often both players actually have been there. Seems as if Midastouch is a little bit more experienced with the game, but in the late game phase, but still, I mean, not really either having the killer instinct or just doesn't want to use it. Okay, unfavorable engagement, so she retreats once more. Could have helped Miyako to get back into the game. And by now, she actually already has 6 carriers up. She has the Mothership Core as well. She has some Tempests. But there's also a lot of Gateway crap down below. And well, mostly Archons. So, and now it seems as if the Tempest shooting just has started. Actually, an Oracle and some Revelation would be really nice here. The Tempest would just shrek everything if this army was revealed. You could just easily attack from far, far away, and there's so many Tempests around for Midas, so she could just easily fly in with the Tempest and kill off everything from afar. And now it seems as if we finally reached the point of the final engagement, while Midas just seemed to try to snipe that expansion maybe and then return. So it's just the back and forth dance. Phew, Midas waiting for 3-3 to finish, then she will have all the upgrades in the game. So, let's see what's going to happen. I mean, we can only wait. I think almost every base has been taken, unless that one, which is quite odd. I mean, why would you take that one if you can take that one as well? Rex have even not been broken there. Maybe that's the reason. But yeah, that's an interesting location for a base. Even taking the base over at Miyako's side before taking the own base over here. But yeah, bases are not Midas's problem. I mean, look at that bank. 13,000 to 6,000 already. Say. What can we do here to speed up that game a little bit? Because now all we can do is wait. Just waiting for what is happening. Just waiting for the one final big engagement. DT's sitting back behind that base. Maybe she just wants to send them in. Deal some more damage. There's cannon in place, but by now these Dark Templars are so strong that 2 cannons are not a problem. Can easily take out both of them and then just walk across the map. Miyako in the meantime has taken that base, even it's almost pretty dry. It's the safest route to take for her. Doesn't even know that the base is over here as well, so Midas could just easily send in well, no, there's no pylon, so she couldn't send in any DTs from over here, which she actually should do. It's actually quite interesting that she doesn't have a pylon over here, but she can't actually warp in anything because she's at max supply and has been for the last 14 minutes, I think. Maybe now the engagement? No? Well, it is a big engagement. Miyako just trying to get forwards. Carrier's just killing off everything that dares to walk out. And actually, Midastouch has now lost her Mothership Core. Or her Mothership more. Her mothership more to the point. So, Miyako also doesn't want to engage. She knows that she's behind, or at least thinks she is. Well, that's a hell of a lot of carriers. My god, if these carriers really get close to that army, they could actually just shred everything. I mean, the Tempests are scary if you can use the Tempests to pick everything apart from afar, like with having Revelation or something like that. But on their own, if you just fly in with most of these Interceptors, I mean, there are not even that many Archons beneath it, right? So I don't actually know. I think maybe Miyako could just take it with the help of the Interceptors. Well, here it goes. Yeah, mostly Tempests actually not focus firing any of these carriers. It's mostly just the fight between ground units. And, well, actually the Tempest's doing a great job in killing these Interceptors, it feels. But I don't know if Miyako will actually be able to break through this. There's mostly Archons downing. The Archons, still some units on the ground. The carrier's not really focus firing anything, which might kind of be of a problem. But it seems as if Miyako just breaks through the rest of the Tempest here. Maybe not. Only a few more interceptors left, but the Tempests are also firing as well. Finally, some Stalkers getting warped in, and not much there to destroy them anymore. So Miyako's supply dropping, Midas' supply dropping as well. One more carrier is only left. Don't actually really know how that happened, but it seems as if the focus fire of Archons and Tempests was real. Midastouch just being able to warp in way more units due to a big bank, but it seems as on the ground Miyako still might have enough units left in order to break through. Midas just dropping below 100 for one moment, but of course, and that's now the biggest problem, Miyako just doesn't have the resources to reinforce her army, just retreats a little bit. Well, she doesn't actually really need to take down that Nexus anyways, and in the meantime, okay, just realized that there's a more important base she can take down to the southern part of the map, so she just takes it out. But yeah, okay, Miyako actually trying to produce more carriers, more air fleet, but like I said, Midas just should actually have had enough warp gates in order to just warp in like 20 Stalkers at once, and like I said, she has the resources to do so, so it's much easier for her to refill that army. But the question is, will the units she have actually be enough in order to take out Miyako's army? But yeah, actually what happened was what I was talking about all along. If you just sit around, wait for too long, your advantage just melts minute by minute if you don't make use of it. And Midas kinda didn't. I mean, she still gathered the other advantage, which was the big bank and the possibility to throw down more production facilities and then just refill her army once the big clash actually happens. But, I mean, that was a significant loss there for Midas. And let's see if she can actually recover from that, using up almost all of her bank already. So, I mean, the numbers speak something. We have 163 army supply to 88. The question is it really worth more? But the Tempest actually did quite a good job, and she masses more of them. Also getting 5 carriers at once. While the only thing that Miyako can build right now is a mothership. DT's just taking down another base over here, also killing off some construction buildings. Miyako just also running forward, killing off the gold base. That's not really important to Midas anyways. I mean, that base was also pretty dry. Midas just trying to deal some more harassment with the DTs, and like I said before, it doesn't really matter if there are cannons. These DTs can just shred through cannons in 2 seconds, and through the other one as well. So not much chance for Miyako to defend that anyways. So she just moves forwards, tries to kill more and more of Midastouch's army, feels that her moment is now. If she can deal some significant damage, it might happen now. Midas just moves in with her army. Oh, actually retreats even once more. And yeah, just waits for the carriers, doesn't want to engage before the 5 carriers can actually come out. So in the meantime, more DT harassment over at the natural base, not really sending the units in. Well, okay, taking down that base is not really important to Miyako at all. DTs can just have that base, doesn't really care. And Miyako, again, all she needs is time. If her opponent is just willing to give her more, well, be my guest. I mean, that's just the thing, right? So, more DTs killing off structures that don't really matter anymore. Okay, Miyako finally sending it back, knows that she eventually needs to deal with these DTs, so we'll just take them out as soon as possible. And in the meantime, we just have the Golden Armada massing once more. A lot of Tempests, a lot of carriers, more upgrades are not possible. And we just have to wait until Midas again decides to attack her opponent. So, still more bases for Midas. I mean, she still has all the advantages in her hand. But Miyako trying her best to get back into the game. Only 4 carriers this time around. Less Tempests, less carriers. Upgrades still worse than those of her opponent. And more High Dark Templar harassment. I mean, yeah, that's just the problem. Even if Miyako just kills off the 3 Templars, Midas can just instantly replenish them and just send them back in once more. Okay, dancing around, not really flying in. Seems as if Miyako might just have had enough and wants to take one more fight. Or doesn't she? No, she doesn't. Just tries to walk around once more, trying to get the easy kill on structures that are unprotected. So DTs in the meantime, again, running in. It's 2 cannons, but the DTs can actually just easily tear through. Okay, maybe not. Was just a little bit indecisive what to kill first, and now the Zealots are here, just barely saving that photon cannon over here. Okay, Miyako already retreating a little bit. Yeah, just waiting again. I mean, she has nothing to lose by waiting. Yeah, her army can only get better and stronger, while her opponent is already maxed. And there we have another big clash here this time around. Let's see how everything is going to happen, where the focus fire is actually going down. Tempest's mostly focus firing the carriers over here, but in the meantime, until the carriers are got taken down, the interceptors of Midastouch just tearing through everything. Miyako's army not up to the task. Also some anti-air ground units help out as well. And Miyako loses her army in an instant. GG's out, and Midas ties the series for 2-2. Okay, there we go. Dasan Station is actually the last map of the best of 5 series. Spawning to the bottom right hand corner, or more to the bottom middle, of the map is the purple Protoss. LDLC is Miyako. And to the middle right in red, playing for O Gaming TV, it's the Protoss in red, Midastouch. So, interesting opening there by Miyako. Ooh, going for an early forge there. Obviously, just wants to shut down that route with the help of cannons, maybe. Interesting choice there. Does she have anything around in order to... Did she sneak a probe in, maybe? Oh, she did. Okay, cannon rushing. So it was a cannon rush plan right from the get-go. Didn't see that probe getting... this probe slipping by. Midastouch actually moving out along the wrong... okay, actually, I think that's just the AI pathing, sending her out. Maybe. So we'll see what's going to happen here. So, in the meantime, Miyako, does she want to throw down a pylon? No. Oh, she wanted to do that right here. There's the first pylon. Who has to be careful not to really get stuck there. So, one pylon over here. Midas' own... What the hell? Midas is actually blocking that pylon using her own buildings? That's actually a bit odd there, isn't it? So Miyako totally committed to that cannon rush here. I mean, she's not producing any other structures whatsoever. So we'll see how this is going to work out. But it's her only probe. She really needs to make sure that it stays alive, and she doesn't. Loses the probe, can only plant down one cannon. I mean, it's neatly tucked aside. Midas could actually just cancel the cybernetics core to get more surface area in order to kill it. But there's one zealot already out, so that shouldn't be necessary. So the photon cannon is going to die. And Miyako just... follows the follow-up plan, plants down a nexus. She knows this thing is secure, just plants down a cannon so units won't be easily getting through at all, and plants on the gateway as well, so she will be able to get some tech up later on. Will of course lose that pylon and will be behind in tech, but maybe with the help of that gold base over here it might work out somehow. So, assimilators incoming as well, so Miyako kinda has to play the catch-up game. Like I said before, it might work out with the help of the Nexus, but of course there's also the possibility for Midas to just attack from that angle here, right from behind the golden minerals, and harass these workers over here, which is easily done with just a few adepts, and you can just easily send them out. So, in the meantime, Midas just secures all of the possible entry positions by planting down pylons, which will gain her some vision. In the meantime, she just also tries to move here. Again, I think she's just trying to scout, and the AI routing is just playing crazy tricks on that probe over here, because this entrance is already completely blocked. So whenever she sends out a probe to scout, it will actually take the other route, because the AI somehow mysteriously knows that this pathway is not open. So quite interesting to see the AI freak out here. But yeah, there it goes. I mean, there's a pylon, and you never know. I mean, your opponent might have just built a forge as well, so she can just plant down a cannon here too. So there's at least one pylon over here, so photon overcharge should help to get rid of that pylon. Also a photon cannon in position for Miyako here. So Mothership Core already flying over, that was actually the idea, photon overcharging that pylon, which will probably not succeed since now the pylon is already there and Miyako is going to shoot it down with her own photon overcharge immediately, and Midastouch retreats. So it seems as if Miyako actually could play the catch-up game. Midas just now taking her own gold base, but it's a lot later than that of Miyako. So let's see if she can... well, right now Miyako has actually just equalized the game, so she's not really that far ahead. Her tech was a little bit later, her expand was a little bit sooner, but of course her gold minerals will also run out a little bit faster than those of her opponent. She also sends a probe down here, just wants to scout, or maybe just even also wants to harass the opponent, maybe with a proxy pylon as well. I mean, you could just tuck a pylon over here where nothing can really reach it, and then just add another cannon, which is a little bit out of reach of the rest of the units here. I mean, photon overcharge won't really help. The Mothership Core can't really take down a pylon on its own very easily. So, but maybe it's just for show. No, actually not. Ooh, has to be careful again with this probe over here. Plants down the photon cannons. So yeah, this harassment could actually be really annoying by her. That's why you usually want to take down these rocks as soon as possible. But an Oracle flies in at the same time and will probably get a lot of drone cans over here. 1, 2, before Miyako reacts, it's already 5. And just has to blay back. Okay, there's at least 1 cannon, but it's a little bit out of position. Mothership Core not really helpful at all. And the Oracle just gets 8 kills before flying out. So, fortunately for Midastouch, it seems as if the Mothership Core actually was able to just get the pylon kill before the cannons got up and got too many kills. Actually, none. So yeah, that was actually a lot of resources wasted. A little plan that Miyako had, a little trick she wanted to do, but it didn't quite work out. More proxy pylons all over the map by Midastouch, as we know of her. So Oracle just following that probe over here might even be able to get that kill on that pesky probe that's just trying to build some more pylons over here. Don't really know if it's worth the sacrifice. Miyako is already down on supply. 31 workers to 41. Again, with all the harassment and everything going on, she always skips a lot of workers and is not even reproducing the ones in her main base. Still behind economically by quite a big margin there. And in the meantime, Midas just using the opportunity of the short air route in order to get some air units out that might help her to just break 3 eventually with Immortals and Void Rays. Seems rather as if she just wants to go right through the middle there by sheer brute force, which actually would be a bit uncharacteristic for her. But yeah, Miyako just trying to get this fortified position here, dealing some more damage to the workers at the gold base, maybe even being able to take down a Stalker or some other units over here. So yeah, she's pretty annoying as hell. The Immortal just can't really reach the photon cannons over here, it seems. Now photon cannons and Stalkers are finally firing, finally completely denying the mining over here, and might even be able to take down the photon overcharge pylon. In the meantime, Midas just walking out with another probe, taking a 3rd base of her own back here, but eventually she will be able to just clean up this Stalker force. But yeah, it's still pretty annoying, can't really reach those cannons with the units over here, so that's just a neat little position there for Miyako. She can abuse. Is still behind in some ways. So finally the Void Ray gets in. Should charge up, I feel, but it doesn't right now. Actually might even get taken out. No, just barely not. And like I said before, eventually this should actually be cleaned up somehow. Although it was a big nuisance in the meantime, and denied mining from that gold base for quite some time. So Oracle flying in once more. This time around we have cannons in position and also a few Stalkers. So no problem for Miyako here, but she's behind in bases. Midas' base almost done. Miyako hasn't even tried to take her 3rd base yet. So let's see if she will get it later on, or if she just tries to end it on 2 bases. But like I said before, she's already quite behind. despite doing all these neat little tricks she was doing there. So seems as if she just wants to continue denying that harassment over here. Now even has blinks forward, but that sacrifice, or that Stalker just sacrificed the life, and now finally the rocks are broken and the army will move out, will just be able to kill everything that's here. Miyako realizes what's going on, retreats immediately, and actually now kinda has to just seal off that ramp herself, because now Midas's army could actually just move in through the back door. So, maybe not thinking about that. I mean, Dasan is a problematic map for a lot of players, since most players just have it on veto, on ladder, and yeah, that might be actually the only tournament they're playing it. So you don't really get to play a lot on that map, so it's pretty likely that you actually forget a lot of routes you can take, a lot of attack routes that open up once you break down rocks, an alternative path you can take, and then you just miss your opportunity maybe. So Miyako moving out a little, maybe checking for proxy pylons or something along those lines, but is a bit indecisive what to do with her army here, just moving it back and forth. Has finally tried to take her nexus over here, will eventually get it, but in the meantime Midas again just has the upper hand already, and she goes into a fleet beacon, which probably means that she again just wants to get into Mars Air, waiting for 3 upgrades before finally engaging her enemy, or maybe not. So there's a bigger engagement. She has a lot of immortals. I mean, she can easily break through these defenses, no problem whatsoever. Forge just falls in an instant. Just move closer, stutter step moving, killing off the photon cans. I mean, she could just easily break through, unless this sentry, of course, throws down a force field here. But it's only one, and it won't last forever. So let's see if Miyako can actually defend this position. She just returns with almost all of her units. No, actually not. Most of her army units are actually far out of position, so this should cost her, and especially the very important cybernetics core over here. Losing that would be quite a problem over here, but luckily for her, Midastouch just retreats before she can deal more damage. I think she could have actually just easily stutter stepped in, kill off 1 or 2 more buildings, and then just retreated with her army. But yeah, for now she just moves back by a little bit. So engagements, just not her strongest suit, it feels. She's just not really up to it. Doesn't really want to engage unless she feels totally safe to do so. So, more pylons getting planted. The base is finally up. Miyako can play catch-up once more. And I don't mean squishing tomatoes. Okay, still, the better income for Midas for quite some time. You can see it on the production tab. And finally, we see a Dark Shrine out of Miyako. She has adapted. After 4 games, she's realized that Dark Shrine pretty good. So, another big engagement over here at the left-hand side. There's a little bit of a choke point, but there's hell of a lot of stalkers here for Miyako. I actually wish she just had some disruptors as well. They could just work wonders, because there's still a hell of a lot of immortals in here as well. So I don't really know if she can actually fight straight up. I mean, she has immortals of her own, and she would have also even had the better concave there as well, especially with all the army units retreating right into the choke point. I think that just might have been Miyako's chance. Yeah, upgrades are better, but in order to deal some really significant damage here, that might have been her one chance, and I think she might have thrown away, but she wasn't really secure. It's always difficult to make that call. Can you take on the army? Can't you take on that army? She actually had a few force fields and more, so she could even have tried to cut off a little bit more of that army. That might have been a favorable engagement, maybe not. It was her call to make, and it was difficult to do, and she decided against it. So finally, some disruptors on the map as well. Disruptors that saved her life in the second game and actually made her win it. So maybe they can make her win it once more, but the army of Midastouch is growing. 1 more base being taken by her, 1 more DT being sent out. No DTs on the field yet for Miyako, I think. No, she has built the Dark Shrine. She's still not eager to use it, I feel. Her own bias against DTs as a Terran player might make her forget about the awesome possibilities of DTs. And yeah, no detection and no static D whatsoever. Big blunder there, unfortunately. I mean, after 4 games against DTs, I think you should have prepared for that. But of course, it's always easier said than done. And the resources are low once more. But yeah, I think that's just actually a big mistake, you have to say, to not have some detection and static D ready in order to deal with DTs. So now she has to just move back by quite a lot, just bring all her army and her observer with her as well in order to deal with that 1 DT, and very annoying there. So more DTs being warped in. Sure, Midas just wants to use the harassment options she has as well as she can, and she's used them to great success throughout the last games. So want to do it again. Miyako moving out over the right lane, or via the right lane. So let's see if she can deal some damage over here. Might get a free pylon here and there. Still is, of course, very far away from the rest of the army. And again, I don't really know if I agree. I mean, Midas just has seen that Miyako's army is completely out of position. She was very close to her natural base and could just have easily walked in. But if she decided to just pull back, she still wants to defend. She doesn't want to lose or doesn't want to base race, although I actually think she would easily win a base race. But especially with the heavy punch that Immortals pack and also the Warriors as well. This is a really unfavorable engagement for her. Just part of her army can actually engage. Yeah, the Tempests are shooting from behind. That's actually now not a good engagement for Miyako. Has to be careful. Suddenly, she just moved in too close. But this was a bad blink by Midastouch. 1 big disruptor shot, just getting almost all of these Stalkers. Finally, a lot bigger army there for Miyako. And it seems as if she might be able to just barely break through. More Warpins getting in, the juicy Zealots here just trying to get some space between the units, but another big disruptor shot just killing off Midastouch's units mostly, and now the Immortals are firing from above. We have some Stalkers just moving in. The Tempests are still raining fireballs onto those, while Miyako is not caring about these Immortals for quite some time, now trying to tear down the rest of the Tempests, but I don't think she just barely doesn't have enough Stalkers in order to deal with the Tempest. Has to full out retreat, will at least take down that Immortal before finally retreating completely, and that was actually still a nice engagement for Miyako. Might have worked out a little bit better if she hadn't let herself getting lured into this concave here from the high ground, but it still was a good engagement since she was behind anyways, and this equaled out the supplies at least a little bit. But of course it would have only helped if she had also, well, she actually secured another base, so never mind. And just moving in with a few more Stalkers. Disruptors helped out tremendously, but now we have a lot of Tempests just on the way towards Miyako's base, trying to take out some units over here. We also have some units on the ground, and finally Midastouch is making her move, realizing that her opponent has just lost her whole army. She just tries to deal some damage, and then realizes that there's army behind and totally retreats. But in this case, it might actually be a good idea, because there's not much to deal with these at home. Miyako also has a Warp Prism in place, just try to kill off everything. The most important thing she has to decide now is what to deal with first. Actually retreats after dealing some damage to buildings over here. Just kills 1 more Zealot. Doesn't really want to fight out in the open with the Tempest. It's always tricky to get them. I mean, Blink might help you to get underneath them, but if of course there are too many Zealots and Immortals underneath it, your Stalkers will just get shredded. And if you can't really get close enough in order to blink right under them, they can just always retreat, stutter stepping and firing and just chipping away from your army, which is always very problematic, and that might seal the deal completely. Again, just DTs getting morphed in. DTs just helping Midastouch again to gain the important advantage, taking down a very important mining base down here for Miyako. I mean, it was pretty dry, but it was still kind of healthy and helping the income for Miyako as well. Both on a very low econ situation right now, actually. Ninja Expo there for Miyako. And I don't actually know why there's just, I mean, there's 50 workers for Midas. What are they all doing? Okay, finally getting transferred there, but that was really an odd gap in the income tab there. I just don't really know. She should have just had way heavier income than Miyako. And now Midastouch is actually doubling the supply of Miyako. Yeah, and that's just a terrible position here for Miyako to engage, because the Tempest can always just retreat over the wall and the Stalkers just cannot follow. There's also a lot of ground forces there now as well. Luckily for her, the Zealots don't have charge yet. That would be even more problematic. And finally, there is a DT. Is that the only DT on the field for Miyako? No, there's 2. 4. Okay, finally it seems as if Miyako has embraced the power of Protoss, trying to abuse the most imba unit that StarCraft has ever came up with. It's the DT. And now she finally gives Midastouch a taste of her own medicine by harassing at several points at once using the DTs here, and just trying to get her army out of position, trying to kill off more units, actually getting a lot of probe kills over here, which is actually quite nice in evening the supplies. Yeah, actually now having more workers, but the question is, will she be able to make it out of that heavy fire of the interceptors there? And I mean, of course, it's nice that she actually was able to get Midas's workers down to 26, so actually she can have the better income now, but what good does it do you if you just don't have the army to beat the counter push? The only thing she can do now is just hope that Midastouch is again very reluctant to engage and just waiting once more until Miyako can catch up once and can catch up again. But I don't know. I mean, let's just be honest, with Midas everything is possible, but it seems not this time around. She has a big air fleet, she has a big ground force, she can just easily walk across the map and kill her opponent. Yes, she doesn't have the information we have, but she's seen her opponent attacking with Stalkers and Stalkers again and again, and not a real big techie force. Even Disruptors she would really need to fear. So let's see. More DTs making it into the natural base, or into the third base of Midas here. Unfortunately, Miyako not really reacting too early on, was mostly move commanding her units, so she couldn't really take down these cannons, although she could have if she just had attacked them right away. So more harassment over to the left-hand side. Midas losing a few more workers, just moving around her army again and again to every little threat, chasing mice with, I don't know, a whole arsenal of shotguns. I mean, this is just overdoing it a little bit. And Miyako again, just trying to move out via the right flank, trying to deal some damage, luring her opponent to the left-hand side. Yeah, actually will do so. Unfortunately, this photon overcharge won't help without a photon cannon in order to see something. Well, Miyako, unfortunately, a little bit preoccupied with the movement of the Stalkers, it seems. Otherwise, she could have just killed even way more probes with the help of that DT, but will so now. Yeah, trying to lure her opponent over to the left-hand side, but Midas is not falling for it, waiting for her opponent's Stalkers right at her own base. But again, I mean, she's just giving her opponent time. Miyako is buying herself time with this harassment and the threatening harassment, or the threatened harassment of these Stalkers over here. It's actually not that scary, but Midas must just feel that it is way more scary than it actually is. So, Ninja base is finally up. Fourth base also mining. 41 workers to 29 now. Bigger income for Miyako. So, still the only problem for her is that she still doesn't have a tech or an army that can actually deal with what Midas has. I mean, there's still 3 carriers, there's a lot of Tempest, and I don't really see Miyako building anything that can actually help her dealing with that force. I mean, Blink Stalkers alone just won't do the trick. I mean, especially not with that ground force below. That's actually the biggest problem. I mean, if that ground force had already been annihilated and it was only the carriers and the Tempests, actually Mars Stalker might do the trick, but that way, I don't know. So finally, it seems as if Midastouch has had enough, and Miyako was just not harassing. So seems as if Midas just wants to take the chance, takes down a few more pylons, might even retreat once more once she realizes that there's an attack happening at her base down here. And that base should fall if Miyako just focus fires down the hatchery. It should easily It should be easy for her. That is actually a risky move there by Midastouch. Just using the A move command and these Tempests and these air units actually choosing, of course, the shortest route towards that base location. So the, unfortunately, a little bit unfortunate there for Miyako that she's just running into the main ground force actually of Midastouch here, mostly cutting off her units here, tries to deal more damage by running by, actually getting this base as well. Wow, and that was actually the last remaining mining base of Midas here. So Midas is now almost down to 0 supply. Does she have an observer that will allow her to get up that ramp? No, she doesn't. No, unfortunately Miyako has just maneuvered herself into a position where she just can't escape, loses all of these Stalkers for almost nothing. Oh, what a sad move. Was probably just expecting her opponent to having already broken down the debris over here, but she didn't. So she just maneuvered herself into a position where she couldn't escape anymore, losing all of her Stalkers. What an unfortunate move. I mean, the mining is just great, but I mean, that should actually now finally trigger Midas into attacking, right? I mean, you don't have any mining going on, you have a big standing force. What the fuck are you going to do? So come on. And Miyako just doesn't have the necessary needs to replenish her army, it feels. So I think that should be it. That should be it. Midas might have done the impossible. The undefeatable player, Miyako, not having been defeated in the FSL before, and it seems as if her former teammate might have done it while Miyako was off racing with Protoss. The Golden Armada is here. It breaks through your forces. All you have are some Stalkers. They alone, probably the air forces would just be enough in order to break through these forces here. Not much that Miyako can do. Tries to retreat into her photon overcharge and into a better position. Tries to lure the opponent into some choke points. Trying to get the best trades she can, but it doesn't really matter. Even if she can beat the ground force, there's still the big air fleet around firing at everything. That one move, that one daring move that could actually have helped her to win the game, just made it lose. And even gods fall. Midastouch takes the series 3-2.